Hello friends, welcome to my channel Go Digit. Today in this video we will learn about the two new concepts which have been introduced in the Business Central, and they were not actually the part of the Navision before. Okay, so the two concepts are first one is enums and second one is interface. Okay, so before we head into Visual Studio Code and start writing code by using these two objects, we should first see the output, that what exactly the view of these new terms, uh, or what these new terms actually looks in the Business Central. So I have already opened up the customer card here, and to talk about the enums. So this is the field which you are able to see here right now, the interface option field. It is when you click here, it has two options, customer and vendor. Okay, so it is somewhere like the same option field which we used to which we are very used to in Navision, with Navision. But in Business Central they have introduced a new concept of enums, which although looks like an option data type field, but it has several advantages over it. So uh, let me talk about what are the advantages of this field. So the very first big advantage is that it is act like a separate object now, and it is not a field anymore. When we talk about enums, we can create it as a separate object, and then we can call it in table objects in a field as a data type. Okay, so that the main benefit of it is that in case you want to add any more options, then rather than opening up that particular table, you can just head on to that enum object and make changes into it. And when you make the changes in the enum object, the changes will reflect in all the tables where you have used that enum field. Okay, so for example, currently you are able to see this customer and vendor option, and let's say if I want to add bank option also there, then to do that I don't need to open the customer card or open the customer table and make the changes there. No, we I just need to open the enum object and make the changes in it, and that change will reflect here in the customer master. Okay, so this is the main benefit of the enums. We will see how we will develop that enum. Okay, now coming to the second part, it's which goes like an interface. Okay, so interface is the new terminology which we are very often use in the OOPS, object oriented programming languages, but with Navision we don't use it because it was not very much available. Only with the Business Central this concept is introduced, and guys, slowly and steadily we also moving towards OOPS. So interface is very much similar. The working style is very much similar, just like we use in OOPS. So basically, for example, if I select here interface option as customer, and let's say I have created one function here, check interface, and if I click this, it will give me a message customer. Okay, and if I select this vendor, and when I click here and click on check interface, it will give me an option of or the message as vendor. Although it's a very simple code which I write there, but rather than using the if condition based on the values available in the interface option field, I used interface option here. Okay, so let us see now in the Visual Studio Code how I made all these changes. Okay, So this is my Visual Studio Code and I have already created one project here. So let's create it one by one. Guys, before like although many of the people already know who are doing the development, but in case you are new to the Business Central or the AL language, then I just want to give you my view of how I organize my code during creation of any project. So whenever you create any project of AL, the ideal condition is, or the way you can organize your code is, that first create one folder name as src, which could be like source code. Okay, then when you expand it, create the types of object which you will use in that particular project. Okay, so for example, I will create one code unit here, I will create one enum object here, I will create one interface object here, then I will create one page extension, then I will create one table extension, and so on. So in that way I will create in this way I have distinguished my different types of object in a particular folder, and thus it will become easy for the developer to identify that on which object I have to work upon it. Okay, so very first thing is, let's start working on the enum. So I have this is the my file, this is my file name, interface enum.al, and let's create one enum here. So we have one snippet available of enum, enum. When you select enum, as you can see, we have two options available, enum and enum ext. So guys, as I mentioned before, that for the first time, if you're creating the enum, then we must have to select this snippet. But later on, when you realize that you forgot to add one more value, or you forgot to add one more option, then we have a concept of enum extension. So if we want to create, or if you want to extend our existing enum, then we will select this. Okay, so let's click here, and let me write here 50102, and let me type the name interface enum. Okay, this is my name, this is the name of my enum object. Okay, and extensible is true, that means you want to keep the extensibility property of this enum as true, so that in future if you want to extend something in it, you can system will allow you to do that. Okay, and now for example, I want to create, let's say, three values in my enum. The first value is customer, the second one is vendor, the third one is, let's say, bank. Okay, so it is very much similar to option data type, right? In the option data type also, we define the values, or we define the options somewhat like in this scenario only. So this is becomes very simple now, because we have a separate object. And now in any table where we feel that we need the similar kind of options in one particular field, then rather than creating that field as an option field, we can create it as an enum type field, and all the options will become, or will readily become available in that new table object. Okay, so this becomes very easy to handle your various options in multiple tables. So I hope you have now understood the concept of enum, and it is very much simple, and I wish you, or I want you to please start using it in your day-to-day routine, and we can skip the usage of option now. Okay, so my first object is created successfully, and it's time to create. Let me first uninstall my extension which I made it before, because in order to free my object IDs. Okay, so let me do that. Let me remove this, uninstall, and unpublish. That's it. Okay, so now back to the Visual Studio Code. And after we done with the enum object, let's move on to the interface object. So here I have created one AL file, and now the first task is to create one interface. So how to create one interface? Let me write T interface, and it is the snippet available. Select this, and this is the kind of a syntax of an interface. So same here, I have to provide the name of the interface. So I will provide the name like interface, sorry, interface example. Okay, so this is the name of my interface. And now as you can see, there is one procedure available, or there is one function available. Remember, when I initiated this video, I told you guys that interface is having the same concept which we use in the OOPS. Okay, so in the OOPS, what the definition of interface is that whatever the methods we define in the interface, it will be in an abstract form. Abstract form means that you cannot define the body here. So for example, if I try to define any body, then it will give me an error. And see, my procedure cannot have a body because it is defined under the interface. Okay, so we must have to remove this. And because this function is not having any body, this function is mainly termed as abstract method. Okay, so let's say I will write my, let's say, print message. Okay, so this is my one procedure, and it will return the text. All right, and now let's say this is all what we can do in the interface. Now the main benefit of having an interface is that we can call this function, or we can define the body of this function in multiple objects by just using the name of this interface. And because we can use the same function in multiple objects, so that we can have the different definition also, right? So it is not like that because this is the same function and we must have to define only single definition of this method. No, we can call this interface in multiple objects, and thus we can define several different definition of the same procedure. Now let's see how we can do that. The main thing is that we can call the interface, we can use the interface in only code units. Okay, so let's create one code unit, 122, and the name of my interface is, let's say, code unit is print customer. Okay, and now let me remove this first. So now this is the main syntax of the code unit. But how we can implement, or how we can call this interface in my code unit? So to call this interface in my code unit, we have one keyword available in the code unit, which is implements. Okay, so it is very much similar to what we generally do in OOPS. In the OOPS also, we use this implement keyword whenever we want to use the interface in different class. Okay, so let's say I write implement here, and after implement I need to define the name of my interface, and the name of my interface is interface exam. Okay, now I have defined it, but still it is giving me an error. Why so? Because if you implement or if you call an interface in any of the code unit, system will give you an error until you define the procedure available in that interface. So when you go to this cursor, place your cursor here, it will give you the message that print customer does not implement the interface member interface exam dot print message. Okay, so what we can do, we can copy this right here and begin and see all the errors remove. So this means now I can define my message, my procedure, or the definition of this procedure here in my separate code unit. So let's say I write here exit the customer. That's it. Okay, I don't need this. Similarly, because I mentioned you while describing the definition of the interface, that we can use this interface with different definition in multiple objects. So this is one of my class, one of my object where I define this definition of the interface procedure. But now I want different definition in different class. So to do that, let me write one more code unit here, and let's say I type the name here as print vendor, and it also implements the same interface. And see, I write the procedure as what it is, the definition, what the name of that procedure in the interface, and let's just change the definition as just it will exit the vendor. So in this manner, I have defined two separate classes which are implementing the same interface but with different body or with different definition of the interface procedure. All right. So I'm done with this object now. Now it's time to call it with to call it or to define it in a page so that we can view the same output which I showed you in the earlier part of the video. So for that, I must have to define first the enum object or the enum field in my table. So this is my table extension folder, and here let me define one table extension which will be 50122, let's say, and the name of the table is customer interface ext, and it will extend the table, the standard table customer. Okay, and here I have to define one field which will be having an id as 50,000, and let me write interface values, and it will be of type enum. Okay, it will not be a type of option, but it will be a type of enum. And after defining the name of the data type, I have to define which enum I'm talking about here or which enum I want to use here. So this is the name of my interface, interface enum. So I will write here as interface enum. Okay, and that's it. Now I have defined an option type field in my table, but without using the option data type. And I'm defining the new data type, which is actually replacing an option data type now, which is enum. Okay, so that's all with the customer extension table. Now let's use it, or let's call it in a page extension. So close this part and open this part. Here, let's say write one page extension, same 122, my interface, my cust interface ext page ext, and it will extend the customer card. Okay, now in the layout I want to add that field. So we have one function add after, and I want to add I want to add after I want to add this field after, let's say, name. Okay, and here I can define the page field as my interface. I have to define, let's see what's the name of that field. Interface values. Okay, so copy that, go to that extension. In that part, let me write so again I have to uh, sorry guys, let me define again the page field and remove this part. Okay, first of all we have to write like this, and only here we have to define the page field, and delete this. Interface values. Okay, record dot interface value. So I have successfully added my field in my customer card page. Now I have to define one action through which I can call my code units, which I have defined in that separate object, and see how my interface function behave when I call the same function but with different classes. So let me select my card page again, and here let's define my code unit first. So interface cu1, and it will be the code unit interface. Okay, it is not having the same, let me select. Okay, print customer and print vendor. So select this, and first one is print customer, and let me write again another variable which will be code unit print vendor. Okay, so we have successfully added two variables. Now in the action part, I have to define actions like here I can define one action, let me select that add after word template. Word template is one of the action which is available in the customer card, and here I have to define one action. An action name can be check interface, and let's define caption check check interface, and let me write the image as user interface. This is the image. And now let's let's call it a trigger on action begin end, and here I have to call my code unit functions. Okay, so let's say we can write one condition that case record dot interface values of record dot interface values, if it is customer, then the message should be interface cu1 dot print message. Okay, and if it is vendor, then I have to define the function, or I have to call the definition of the interface procedure from the second code unit or from the second class. Okay, so that's it now. Okay, I have to define an and here, and that's it. So in that manner, we have successfully done with our all the customization which we have to perform for enum and for the interfaces. Okay, so I now need to deploy this package. So first of all, build the package by pressing Ctrl Shift B, and it will successfully create the package for you. And now deploy this. So press Ctrl Shift F5, and now it will deploy your project. So it is opening up the customer card for me. Directly, because I have defined the startup object ID as 21, which is the ID of my customer card. So that is why as soon as you deploy your project, system will open up the same card or the same page ID which you have defined in this property. Okay, so first of all, okay, I think it runs. Let me close the debugger, and let's see if my object has been deployed successfully or not. So let me select the setup and extensions part and click on extensions. Although the output will remain the same which I showed you in the initial part of the video, in the starting part of the video. So you can now understand basically how actually the enums and the interface we can use in the business central. Okay, so I think it has not deployed because I am not been able to see my project here, and it is an interface, and interface is not being deployed. Okay, so let me deploy this project again. table extension, customer interface, the field interface option cannot be located. Remove field is not allowed. Okay, guys, because initially I showed you the output, and that output is having the same ID with same fields and same working style. So uh, because that is having an data, that field is having the data before, and that is why while deleting the extension, uh, it successfully did not deleted the data, and that is why it is giving me an error. So no worry, the output will remain the same, which I showed you earlier. So this is how we can understand the concept of enum and the interfaces. So please guys, start using these new terms or new terminology in your day-to-day development, so that you can enhance your development skills, and also uh, increase the usage of oops concept in your development. So with that note, let me close this video now, and I hope you like my video and you understand the basic working style of both interface and the enum objects. So I just request you to please hit the like button, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.